Hello there, my name is Patrick Lee Greaves. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at my split primary palettes, which I use mostly for painting outside. I do use it in the studio occasionally, but I use it for a lot of my demos and stuff, but mainly I use it when I'm actually painting outside. I just find it easier to have a limited palette than having too many colours to choose from, because I find it just complicates the actual procedure of painting. So I stick with the split primaries. We're going to be looking at the mixing of those today. We're going to make a colour wheel, and we're going to see how that works and what sort of colours and variations in colour we can actually get from the range of colours I use. So we're going to have a look now and see what we can do. Okay then. What I've done is I've made myself a quick colour wheel, divided it up into 3 sections roughly. I've also outlined the colours that I'm using in my palette, my split primary palette here today. I'm using for the warm side, I'm using Windsor Yellow, Ultramarine Blue and Cadmium Red. For the cool side, I'm using Lemon Yellow, Prussian Blue and Alizarin Crimson. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to see how all that fits into the colour wheel and what the difference is between mixing warm and cool, the cools together or the warms together, what different effects we get. So we're going to start now with our Ultramarine Blue and our Alizarin Crimson, and we're going to blend them all in and we're going to see what we end up with. What I'll do is I'll mix them up, okay, but I'm going to speed it up while I mix, okay, so you don't have to watch me do that for too long, and then once I've mixed it we'll discuss what I've done. Right, so our Alizarin Crimson goes in there, and we have our Ultramarine Blue at the bottom. Okay, now we'll do the Cadmium Red and Cadmium Red, a bit more Cadmium Red, and the Windsor Yellow. Okay, so we've got the gradual change from yellow to orange. Lemon Yellow, Prussian Blue, which is the cooler blue with more green in it, more yellow. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix the remaining colours, do it the opposite way around. I'm going to mix the Cadmium Red with the Prussian Blue, the Ultramarine Blue with the Windsor Yellow, and the Alizarin Crimson with the Lemon Yellow, and we'll see what the different types of colour, types of oranges we get, types of violets, different type of, and the type of greens we get mixing that combination together. So I'm going to whip through that. I'm going to speed up a bit so you don't have to watch me do it. And then we'll discuss. We'll look at the differences between the two afterwards, and discuss, what we've learned. Okay, if we look at our colour wheel now, it tells us quite a few things, I think. We've learned quite a lot by doing it. If we look at our Ultramarine Blue and our Alizarin Crimson, we gradually mix those together. We've got quite a nice sort of purple coming into violets down here, around back to the pure blue again. That's using a warm blue and a coolish red. Okay, then we to go round to our Cadmium Red and our Windsor Yellow. So we've got a warm red and a warm yellow, and we've got lovely bright oranges there, really lovely colour, range of colours, beautiful. If we look at, we're just going around the outside ring now, then we'll go on the inside one next. If we look at lemon yellow and Prussian blue, so we've got two cool colours. We've got a cool yellow and a cool blue, and we get very, very nice, bright, zesty greens. They're lovely, really intense greens. Lovely for landscapes and fresh spring leaves and things like that, grass and stuff like that. Okay, now if we go on our inside ring here, we've got the Prussian blue with the cadmium red. So we've got a cool blue with a warm red, and we don't get any nice violet colours at all. We get very much dull, almost neutral colours. Almost a black. It's not black because there's lots of colour in it, but it's almost black down here at one point. Okay, so it would be great for mixing really dark colours. Then we've got our Alizarin Crimson and lemon yellow, and that gives us, we've got a cool red, a coolish red, and a cool yellow, and we don't get the bright oranges anymore. With those colours we get a much more sort of muted orange, almost like a brown, I would say, and by adding a little bit more blue to that you can make it more brown if you wanted to, but it's like a nice, that's a lovely brown. You can mix lots of burnt sienna and all sorts of colours from that. You wouldn't need it in your palette. Yellow ochre, by adding a little bit of blue, you'd get the yellow ochre, colours like that, no problem at all. And then finally you've got your ultramarine and your Windsor yellow, and you don't get the same bright yellows that we had with the lemon yellow and Prussian blue. With the Windsor yellow and ultramarine blue you get much more dull greens, not as full of life and zesty as that. So if you want a calmer green, a more neutral green, you would go for the warm yellow and the warm blue. Okay, I think that teaches us quite a lot really. I think that's a great thing to have. So if you start using a neutral palette, I think doing a quick colour wheel like that will give you a visual glance to what you can achieve. You could have that pinned up on your wall or in your studio, or carry it in a little I don't know what they call it now, we put between sheets of plastic through a hot thing, can't think what they call it, but you could have that as a reference, and it would give you a great idea of what colours you can mix with just those 6 colours, with 2 yellows, two blues and 2 reds. I think the range is fantastic. I do understand the use of why people choose to use a much broader palette, because obviously you get nice effects with other colours. You get granulation and things like that. It's also nice to dip into other colours for highlighting things and whatnot. So, but for a landscape palette, for going outside and painting sort of in the field, a limited palette for me is a must, because I find it too complicated to do. If I've got sort of 15-20 colours in my palette, I freak out, I can't do it. But if I've got just 6 colours, I feel in control from the minute I start. So that's why. Okay, we're just going to have another look at something here. Okay then, so let's have another quick look at something. So we could take our nice green colour we mix with lemon yellow and Prussian blue, for instance. Okay, we've got that nice zesty green we could put in there like that. Now if we wanted to neutralise that, or have to make it sort of dull it down, basically, all we've got to do is add a bit of the opposite in it. So if we add a little bit of red to that, now it's going to neutralise it. Okay, so it makes it into a kind of nice dirty green, basically. Great landscape colours. So you've got the option of mixing those from this palette, which is fantastic. And of course, there's by adding either more red or more green or more blue, there's a whole variation of colours you can make from that. Let's do the same with the purple. So we take some of our blue and we take some of our Alizarin Crimson. We made that purple colour, not the brightest purple in the world, but it was a purple nonetheless. And we put that in there. And we want to neutralise it a bit. We just put a little bit of the opposite colour in, which is a bit of yellow. And there we go. Just completely mutes it down. And you can make it more purple bias by adding more blue and red and so on. Okay. And again with the red and orange, the red and yellow, we have that lovely orange colour and we can neutralise that by adding a bit of blue, a bit of the opposite colour. There we go. So it gives us a wealth of colours, wealth of greys. You've got a lovely grey going on there. Look, if you added more blue to that, you've got a lovely grey. And all those colours there would be fantastic for landscapes and things like that. One other little thing I did want to explore just before I finished was to look at how many colours do we actually need. We've got a warm and cool of each, right? We've got a warm and cool yellow and red, yellow, red and blue. So we could we? I don't know, I've never tried it, but could we just have one yellow, one blue and one red and mix our own warm version? So if we started with lemon yellow, for instance, we got our lemon yellow here. We could make a warm yellow just by adding a touch of red to it. Just a touch, just to warm it up slightly. We don't want to go to orange. Okay, so then, just by adding a little bit of warm colour, we've made our own warm yellow. So could you get away with just having lemon yellow in your palette and mixing your own warm version? Of course you could. It's just been done there. Again with the blue, if we had ultramarine blue, for instance, as our warm blue, we could add a little bit of too much yellow to it to make a cooler blue, a blue with a slightly more green biased, a bit like Prussian blue, but wouldn't have the same sort of strong powers as Prussian blue. But nevertheless, you could mix the colours you wanted that way. I would think I'd rather have one of each on my palette. This is just for, you know, demonstration purposes only. And if you had your cadmium red, could you make it a cool red? Well, just by adding a little bit of blue to it, you could make it slightly a bit more like Alizarin Crimson, that type of colour, a sort of more of a blue red. Okay, so you could turn your three, just have the three primaries in your box and paint with those. And if you wanted to make a cool and warm of each, you could make your own. Like I said, I wouldn't want to go that route. I'd rather have one in my palette. But and I haven't. They're slightly duller than the ones you buy for some reason. I don't know. But so there we go. I'm going to call it that from it. I think that's enough colour theory for me for a day. It kind of fries my brain a little bit. But I've enjoyed doing it, and I've enjoyed making the colour wheel. And I recommend if you've got a palette that you use, and it's a split primary palette, and you want to bring it along to Pure Watercolor and upload it to the website so we can all see what you're mixing, that would be great. That would be a lovely thing to come. There's a link below the video. If you want to see more demonstrations, there's links below the video to my Patreon account should you wish to look at that. And there's also links to some of my watercolour courses below the description as well. So thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I explained it as best as I could. Because I do find it a bit complicated, to be honest. But colour theory is not something. Once you've actually done a colour wheel yourself, it all comes an awful lot clearer. So you actually need to do one to really fully understand it. But once you've done that, it's pretty plain sailing, really. Not too much to worry about. But I'm pretty impressed with the colours you can get from 6 primaries. I think they look really bright and exciting. And it makes me want to get outside and paint with them. So fingers crossed, next week the sun will be shining and I can get out. So I'll catch you all again soon. Bye for now.